Building Thinking Classrooms, Automated Grading Rubric. Welcome everybody to version 3.0 of this awesome rubric here. My name is Tim Brzezinski, and on behalf of my colleague, Melissa McCain, we are excited to bring this to you here today. There's been a lot of new features added to it, and we're really excited to share them with you right here and right now. So let's get started. What you're going to want to do is go to tinyurl.com/BTC rubric. Again, tinyurl.com/BTC rubric. All right. Again, this document will automate grades exactly the way that Peter Liljedahl describes in chapter 14 of his text, Building Thinking Classrooms, right here. So when you go to that tiny URL, okay, you will see 3 items in that Google folder. All right. You want to go to the second item in there, which is the Google Sheet. All right. This Google Sheet, I'm in here right now. Now, this is the master, which I don't have edit access to. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to File, make your own copy. So do that now. We'll make a copy here. And I'm going to call this Demo 3 because I already messed up the last 2 times. So let's go. All right. And I'm going to exit out of the original one so I don't get confused here. So there's our copy coming up here. All right. You'll notice that there are a few tabs here. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of that later. But first things first, in the settings page, I want to point out a few cool key features here. Let me just zoom in so you can see better. All right. Now, the way that Peter describes grading, we record data on outcomes. Whether students demonstrate knowledge individually, that's these check types right here, and all these count towards mastery of a student's meeting a particular objective. Okay. And there's a lot of descriptors that also indicate not meeting mastery, not counting towards mastery of an objective, I should say. All right. We have not attempted, but you can also create your own custom symbol and meaning here for any no cases. All right. Just type in a symbol and change it and you'll see. Now, very, very important right here. When Melissa and I met with Peter at the NCTM conference after our workshop on this very topic, Peter indicated to us that he used 2 for basic, 3 for intermediate, and 4 for advanced. And the reason why he used 2 for basic is because he wanted the basic score, right? When students demonstrate knowledge individually only at a basic level, he wanted that to be equivalent to the minimum passing grade the student needs to meet in order to pass the course, minimum grade. And where he's from Canada, that's a 50%. But I teach in New Haven, Connecticut. And so for me, minimum passing grade for the course is 60%. So I'm going to change mine to a 60. And look at that. The 2, 3, 4 changes to 3, 4, 5. This makes sense because a 3 out of 5 is 60%. And let's say hypothetically you teach in a school where it's very rigorous and students need to pass with a 75. So you can change that 60 to a 75 and notice the numbers change to 6, 7, 8. Basic score of 6, well, 6 out of 8, that's 75%. You need to change that number with what works for you in your course, in your district. But I'm going to keep to Peter's original convention of using 50 because that's what he does in his textbook. So we'll do that right there. Okay, so now that's very important. You want to make sure you set that up. Now, under class list here, we need to enter our student names. So we'll do that now. Okay, so I have some names to copy right here to save time. So this is my class list. I'm going to go ahead and type them in right here. And there we go. Now, one thing that's very, very important to note here, all right, is that I have extra student names listed right here. Okay, now it's very imperative that you do this because you may have a student come into your class in February. New family moves to town or your city, and you need a student tab for that student. Okay, so please, please, please make sure you put at least 3 extras in there when you use this rubric. That's very important. Okay, now what we're going to do now here we have right over here, we have the master template. It's very imperative that you don't touch this sheet at all. Of all the 4 tabs in here, never, ever, 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 ever touch the master template. You'll leave that alone. You'll see why in just a minute. All right. So now what we're going to do is make our student tabs. We're going to make a grade book sheet here for every student in our class. And in order to do that, we need to go to the BTC menu right up here. And you want to go to where it says create student tabs right here. Very important here. You only want to do this once a year, or if this is for a semester course, do this only once in the semester. Okay. The reason why is because once you start recording student data on your student tabs we're going to generate now, okay, if you hit this again, it's going to copy the blank master template and erase all the students' work. You don't want to do that. Please only do this first button only once for the year or once for the semester. Make note of that because that's very important. All right, let's hit create student tabs. Now, we need permission to run the script as Google is asking because this is not an official Google add-on. All right, so Melissa and I added code to the script here, but again, we don't know how to make a virus if we even tried, so it's totally safe, I promise. So we'll go ahead and give it permission to run. Just hit allow right here. Again, you only have to do this action once. All right, and now we're going to go to here. I'm going to press create student tabs. Watch this. Love this part right here. What we're doing is we're going to clone the master template and make it for all the students in our class. For Brandon, for William, for Melissa, they're all getting generated right here. Me, I think Peter's next. And we have the extra extra students 1, 2, and 3, as you can see right there. We'll wait for it to finish. There we go, all done. Notice it says running script, and it will be done very soon. Finish script. Aha, now we can keep going. See, that didn't take long at all, and you do that once a year or once a semester. Now, let's go to our unit details page. Here, we want to start typing in our units. So I'm just going to go ahead here and copy from one of my geometry units here that I'm currently teaching, coordinate geometry. So I'm going to title the unit right there, coordinate geometry. And let's take 3 objectives from that unit, only 3 to save time here. I'm going to copy this and paste them right here. Boom. Let me zoom in so you can see it better. Okay. Now notice here, right, we have a unit title. We have 3 objectives from that particular unit listed here. So now at this point, what I need to do is determine what is the highest level of question I'm going to ask that student for that objective. Is it only basic? Is it intermediate, basic and intermediate? Or am I going to give all 3 types of questions, basic, intermediate, and advanced? You as a teacher need to make that call. All right. So when it comes to identifying slope of a line given 2 points on a grid, you know what? That to me, that's just basic. You look at it, you either know how to find the slope or you don't. Again, my opinion only. Other teachers may put an intermediate question. They may think of a more challenging version of that question. I don't know. You make that call. All right. Build lines with a given slope. All right. We'll say intermediate. Okay. Because I could ask that question, a question relating to that objective in a variety of ways. But now when it comes to solving problems involving parallel lines and slope, I believe I can give basic, intermediate, and advanced type of questions for that objective, right? So now look at that. I've put unit details in there, and watch this. Watch what happens. The master template, changes have been made to the master template based on what I put on the unit details page. But not only that, every student in my class right here, see Brandon? There's a clone right there. There's one. Any changes you make to the student detail page go to the master template. And from the master template, all of these children files, for those of you that are in the computer programming, right? This technically is the parent file right here. All of these items, affect the parent file, and we clone the parent to get the children files over here. All right, that's how it works. So now, let's say Brandon's grade right here. Right now, I can start having Brandon earn grades right here. So let's say Brandon demonstrates knowledge individually right here. Right? And so far, remember what Peter says, 2 consecutive check types in a row, at least 2, right? We need 2 consecutive check types in a row at any category, in any kind of category there, basic, intermediate, and advanced, for the student to earn that score that particular category is worth, right? But let's suppose Brandon struggles with building lines with given slope. Let's suppose he's totally having a hard time in the basic category. And maybe he got help from me, and then, okay, he still messed up. But then the next day, something clicked, and the students are working on intermediate level questions, and we have a conversation. He demonstrates knowledge individually through a conversation, and maybe he see that? Even though Brandon struggled in the basic category, he still got intermediate level credit because why? This is backwards compatible. The highest level at which students earn 2 consecutive checks in a row, that's the score they earn for demonstrating knowledge individually for that particular objective or outcome, I should say. Notice here, the items on the left, these are no longer event grades. This is not project 1, homework 1, test 1, quiz 1. We're no longer grading events. What are we grading? We are grading outcomes here. And so for this outcome, since Brandon demonstrated knowledge individually at least twice at the highest level possible that I determined as a teacher, he's got a 3 out of 3, right, for that particular objective. And look at his grade so far is 100 because 5 out of 5 is 100. Now, when he starts answering questions here, right, okay, the grade drops to 66.7 because technically it's 1 out of 4. When they at least attempt one, it automatically defaults to a 1 in this case. All right, but the only way they don't earn credit is if they don't attempt it at all. See how the N means not attempted, and that changes to a 0. All right, but in any case, whether they attempt, whether they get help or they work in a group setting or they make a mistake and I observe it, make a mistake through a conversation with me, make a mistake that detracts from the objective. Remember, the key is all on the settings page. It doesn't matter, right? If it's any one of these, they'll at least get that minimum possible score. In this case, 1 out of 4. All right. So now, one thing that's very important to note here in this grading rubric, all right, is as follows right here. Let's suppose Brandon struggles here. He struggles here, right? But then all of a sudden, man, at the advanced level, he is like kicking butt, right? Let me just zoom out a second here. So then let's suppose here he starts demonstrating knowledge individually awesomely. And look at this. Watch that 1 right here. Watch that 1. Look at this. That 1 out of 4. Let's go to advanced. Whoop. Hang on. Check it out. That 1 out of 4 automatically goes to 4 out of 4. Again, backwards compatibility here. The highest level at which students get 2 consecutive checks in a row, demonstrating knowledge individually 2 consecutive times in a row, that determines the score that they earn for that particular outcome or objective. And that's exactly what Peter describes in chapter 14 of Building Thinking Classrooms. So now, what is this X1, X2 all about? I'm glad you asked. So right here, let's suppose that the unit is done, right? And this grade here is that 100% is what I throw in Power School or whatever, right? So, but let's suppose here I'm actually going to have Brandon totally struggle here. I'm going to change all these to X's here. All right. Let's suppose that, you know, later in another unit right here, when we're working with quadrilaterals and doing coordinate geometry proofs, let's suppose that Brandon demonstrates knowledge of that previous objective. He's like, oh, aha, he has the aha moment like weeks later. Oh, parallel lines have the same slope, and he finds slope correctly, and he deduces that lines are parallel. Well, you know what? I can come back here and look at this. I can actually come back here with regards to the level there. You know what? This is after unit. Notice, look at right here. In the after unit category, I only show if students have demonstrated mastery. There's anything that earns credit. There's none of the no's right there. So Brandon demonstrates knowledge individually weeks later, again, in the after unit category, okay, right here. Sorry, right there. Let me just have to refresh. There we go. My bad. Right here. So see how that 1 out of 4? Notice right here, if I make that a check, watch that 1, it changes to a 3 out of 4. Remember, intermediate in this case is worth 3. So I can go ahead and bump that grade in Power School to an 88 or 89, if that makes sense. All right. So there is no connection between the 5 and X1. These 1 through 5 and this X1, X2, that solid line right there, it is a break. Anything you put in here in the after unit was meant to be done if students demonstrate knowledge individually of previous objectives after that unit is done, if that makes sense. Okay. The one last thing I want to show you right here that I forgot to say before is if you go to the class list page, check it out. There are hyperlinks on the student names. And so what that does, if I click on Brandon, that'll bring me to Brandon's tab. So we added that as a convenience for you as a teacher. If you don't feel like scrolling through all the 8 million students you may have in your class down here, you can easily go back to your class list and click on the hyperlink, and it'll bring you to that student's grade sheet. Remember, any changes that you make to the unit details page will automatically be reflected on the master template. Remember, master template, do not touch. Don't ever touch the master template. But the only ones you want to touch are the student tabs, which are the grades that the students earn for demonstrating knowledge individually on all the particular outcomes for your course. So on behalf of Melissa McCain and myself, I want to thank you for watching this. And we hope you enjoy using this, and we hope you find this very helpful to you as you continue to assess students in your thinking classroom.